Today I'll be speaking with Ryan from Ryan's Dramatizations. Welcome, Ryan. Firstly, I mean, we were having a bit of a chat just before, and I'd like to welcome everyone here, and of course you, Ryan. Maybe just introduce yourself and what you do, and sort of, you know, what you're up to, basically.
Mhm. Yeah, as you said, my name's Ryan. That's my channel name in parentheses. I basically, I don't know. I cover a lot of. I try to go for misinformation or things that just seem ridiculous. Young Earth creationism has been a pretty consistent topic. Kent Hovind, I've debated him a couple times and covered him in a lot of videos. Matt Powell, I've covered him, but then I go for people like frickin' if you know Roger from Mud Fossil University.
I'm aware of it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like he basically believes in dragons that were the size of the planet
Mm,
and stuff
mm,
like really outlandish things. Then I've
right.
even covered people like Andrew Tate or
Mm,
Matt Walsh, just
yep.
and then also react to things that I like as well. Video game stuff, I play some games sometimes, and then react to I think Let's Game It Out. Done a couple videos on him.
Yep.
Reacted to Atheist Junior before on his hilarious Hovind impression. But yeah, just I don't know. Right now, I'm doing a series like reacting to the Hovind documentary done by McKinnon Mitchell. But other than that, just kind of whatever I like to make.
Mm. Oh, awesome. So basically, just whatever interests you at the time,
Yeah,
whatever, you know,
yeah. I don't really
whatever.
have a consistent thing yet.
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, that's fine. I mean, I feel like in the start of YouTube, I don't really have anything that I'm focused on except debates, but finding them is kind of sometimes hard. I'm always looking for, and I don't know, you kind of get caught up in these sort of really, I mean, I hate to say low hanging fruit, but they sometimes feel
Yeah,
like that. You know, they're just, it's just bewildering. Like when I was starting off, I was doing debates against people like Gavin Herleman, who is just terrible. And sorry, Gavin, that's my honest opinion, mate.
yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
I haven't
some
heard
of
of him
these
actually.
people. You haven't heard of Gavin?
No, I'm still
Oh,
very new to this. I've only done 2 Hovind debates, but I do have one
right.
coming up against David McQueen. I think about Noah's Ark.
Oh
Professor
dear.
McQueen, I think. But
Yeah,
yeah,
so yeah, if you want to see McQueen in action, watch his debate against King Crocoduck on Modern Day Debate. He
okay,
got absolutely, like, it was an absolute roaring. He was absolutely destroyed. King Crocoduck brought in, sort of radioactivity and all of these concepts that David McQueen should have known about. He mentioned that he was sort of trying to solve the math on the young Earth because radioactivity doesn't work with the young Earth. You can't have radioactive decay that takes that long.
right.
So he's trying to rewrite the laws of physics and sort of say, hey, well, we're working on it, kind of thing. And it's like, well, I'm not holding my breath because you're talking about rewriting the entire laws of physics. Same for instance, another one for young Earth is the amount of distance light has to travel from distant stars, right? So
Right.
you get something that's a million light years away from here, and that light could not possibly have reached us in the 10,000 years because the speed of light in a vacuum is a constant. There's no way. And they will sort of say, hey, speed traveled slower in the past. And it's like, that would mean it took longer, not shorter. So there's something weird going on over there. I have no idea. But, these are the questions that we sort of go, well, how do you explain this? And they're like, well, we've got to rewrite the laws of physics. We're currently working on it. But
Yeah, they just and it's like if they can't in the moment, they just straight up deny it and say or just say something vague like, well, I mean, it might not have been like that or it might not always be
right.
that fast. Might be able to go faster, but like that dude I was just telling you about, the whatever his name is, Catholic Versus, that was on Friday.
Right.
He literally said that, well, they're finding things out now that's suggesting light could have went faster. And I mean,
Then the speed of light.
yeah, and he's
I
saying within space, like within the vacuum of space, and I, to be fair, have not seen anything or particularly like searched out for that yet.
hmm,
But even if it's true, I mean, I want to know, is this a big consensus or is this just like one person you found that so happens to also be a creationist, but I don't know. I didn't look into it.
Well, I mean, the thing to do there is to ask for a citation, right? To, where are you getting this information from? Can you cite me your source, kind of thing? Even if that source is a news article or,
Right.
answers in Genesis kind of thing, you automatically know, hey, that's
Yeah.
probably really dodgy information, or, if it's, what's the other one? Creation Institute, CI? You probably...
I've heard of Discovery Institute. I don't know if I've heard
Oh,
of that one.
yeah. Discovery Institute. You're right. So when they come out of there, you know that it's dodgy information. But if it, there's reputable journals out there, and you can sort of find them. So, don't be scared to say, hey, where's your source for that? I'd like to know where
I know.
you got
I
that
definitely
from.
should have. Like, he was all over the place too. It was honestly. I mean, we both were. We covered. It was just an hour, like exactly, basically, but we covered everything from creationism to the Big Bang to freaking morals and philosophy. He just
Sure.
all over the place.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you're looking for justification for a god, they generally do go all over the place because they're looking for that justification kind of thing. Interesting though, very interesting, because you've got sort of the fine-tuning argument, which will cover physics and things like that, and why is everything the way it is, and you'll have the moral argument, which sort of says, hey, without you can't have morality without God, which I don't know why people say, but it's a belief. It sure is a belief. So
or something else.
Yeah, so what was, so this guy was a Catholic, and that's odd because Catholics usually aren't young earth creationists.
Right, that was my biggest biggest confusion with it. I mean, when he first, so a little backstory, I guess, into it real quick. It was one of his friends that emailed me and said, hey, you should try to get on this guy's podcast. He would like to do it with you. I was like, all right, sure. And set it up. And his first thing was, yeah, I'm Catholic, and I also agree with Hovind and believe that the world's only 6,000 years old. But he does not believe in his religious beliefs. Like, to him, Catholicism was like, that's the top. I mean, that's the correct one. Everyone else has it slightly wrong.
Yeah,
it was definitely bizarre. And like I said, he used to be an atheist supposedly for 25 years.
Oh, I love that. I just
right.
Yeah. Well, it's, to be fair, so when people say, hey, I used to be an atheist kind of thing, and you sort of roll your eyes and go,
I mean, I know it happens. It does, I guess, but I mean, it's hard to believe, at least in this case, that's for sure.
To be fair, to be 100% fair, right? Atheists do it as well. They say, I used to be a Christian kind of thing. So I can understand why people say it. However, it's not really evidence of anything, because you can point out, oh, well, I used to be an atheist. Well, I can point to 10,000 people that used to be Christians. It doesn't say anything. It doesn't add any impact except to try to maintain some empathy. So I don't have that much of a problem with it, because I know atheists do it as well. They say, hey, I used to be a
I mean,
Southern
honestly,
Baptist for 25 years. Yeah. So
to be fair, I even do say that technically. I mean, I was young. I mean, I stopped going to church when I was about, I want to say 11. That's when I got kicked out. So
yeah, but you don't have your position is funny. You don't have a belief in God, correct? You sort of say you don't know it all.
Yeah. I mean, my biggest thing is, it's not that I don't know how to explain it, I guess, in a way that doesn't make me sound like I'm just trying to,
avoid the question kind of.
Yeah, because I'm not. That's the thing. Like,
no, I got you.
So as I did say in that open mic, if I had to pick, if like I was, forced to pick one side or the other, I would definitely go for, I mean, without, no belief, atheism, because I do not believe there is a God, but at the same time, I can't also say that I don't not believe. I just don't know. And I know it's not about knowing. It's just, I don't know. It's hard because I just don't have evidence for one way or the other. It's just, but the lack of evidence for it pushes me more towards, not believing at all. if that makes sense. I know
Yeah.
man, you know, that might change for sure. Like as I get older, I imagine I'll probably go more towards atheism, but I don't
Right.
know. It also just, as I said in that open mic that we were all in, I just don't think it matters to me, you know? Like it's
No,
not
I
going to
get you.
change or affect my life one way or the other. So that's why I guess I don't have a strict
Well,
position.
yeah, and I get that. Like, it's not going to change and affect your life, but that sort of brings the question up for me. Then why are you doing what you're doing? Why are you arguing with
Yes.
sort of creationists and things like that? Or is it that it's just young Earth creationists and the old Earth ones don't bother you at all, kind
Yeah,
of thing?
so I personally I have no issue with like religion in general. I believe it can be a beautiful thing, can give people a sense of community and purpose and all that, and that's awesome. It's when you use it to uh, essentially lie to people, uh, con people in cases like Hovind and stuff, steal from them and all sorts of horrible things. And more importantly, what it
Right.
does to children. Like when you tell them, you know, this younger thing is true, and essentially all of science is just nonsense. I mean, they don't technically say that, but they basically do. If it has to do
Right.
with the age of the Earth or anything that disproves them, then you're hindering that child's potential development. I mean, into becoming the
Mhm.
next, you know, frickin' Einstein or whatever, you know.
Sure.
And
Sure.
that's where it just bugs me. I don't like it's the misinformation part because you know,
Right.
religion in general, I get why people are religious. If I- in the sense that if you use atheism as I do not believe in any religion being true, then that I
Mm.
would 100% say yes. Because I just think religions are nonsense. I mean, like God and religion to me would be kind of a separate thing. I know that's
Yeah.
weird,
No,
probably,
no,
but
no, no, that's not. It's organized religion is
yeah.
different than
And again, I'm still not saying I
theism.
believe in a God, of course.
No, 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 that's fine. It's just and like we were discussing earlier, I didn't have a lot of time to elaborate on it, but it depends on what you're defining as atheism. So I
Yeah.
think we discussed briefly the philosophy of religion part because Leo was there and that's his sort of wheelhouse is philosophy. One of his many wheelhouses
Yeah,
actually.
I was about to say.
Yeah, yeah,
He
Leo's
has.
Leo's
I've been watching his stuff since that. I mean, he has some very interesting topics. Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah, he's a
fascinating.
very knowledgeable guy on physics, philosophy, a few other, just really good. Um, so if you're talking philosophy of religion, the question, the proposition that they put is, does God exist? So do you know the difference between epistemology and ontology?
No, no, I do not.
Oh, okay. So ontology is related to metaphysics, what actually exists, right? So it's related to the actuality of reality, basically. So if I say, oh, there's a coffee cup on my desk, right? That's the ontology, right? So that's the actual state of affairs, right? So
Right.
epistemology is your beliefs about things and your knowledge about things. So epistemology is related to knowledge and belief and thoughts, like what we perceive and um, what we can look at. Ontology is the actual real thing that's down there. So, for instance, I can be walking in the desert and I see water. Now, epistemologically, water is there according to my epistemology. It's, I can see water. But the ontology is that's a mirage. There's no water there, right? So it just separates what we believe versus what actually is. And philosophy of a religion asks an ontology question, a metaphysical question. Is there a God? And you either can say yes, I believe there's a God, or no, I don't. Sorry, you can either say yes, there is a God, or no, there is not a God. um, when you're talking with people in average conversations, when they're saying, hey, are you a theist, they're asking, do you believe in God? And that's a different question than, is there a God? Right? It's a
Right.
different question because one of them is, um, God exists, yes or no? It's ontological. The other is, what do you believe? God exists, or I don't believe God exists. So it depends on the way that you're talking with people, and people in philosophy get very upset if you use it wrong. I think it's more important. I'm fine with either, but I think it's more important that you just explain your position. Like, I think that's way more important than sort of giving it a name or sort of putting people in boxes. You just explain where you're coming from. But the reason why in sort of conversation with atheists, if you say, well, I don't believe and I don't not believe, it's kind of weird to I mean, when you're talking about the proposition is, do you believe something?
Mm-hmm.
You're either going to believe it or you don't believe it. There's no middle ground of I kind of believe it, right? Because then you still do believe it, even a little bit.
Right.
So whereas that's different than is there a God? Because the answers can be yes, no, or I don't know.
See, and that does, and see, that makes perfect sense. I don't see, that's why if normally when asked, I don't know is just my answer. But if I wanted to go into more detail, I would for sure say, I'll say this: I don't believe in a God, but at the same time, if we had evidence or definitely proof of it, even without proof, I mean, if there was evidence, it wouldn't it wouldn't surprise me. Like I could see it happening. It's just not in any kind of literal interpretation of a religious way, if that makes sense. Like, no, I mean, most of the stories in there I think are nonsense. But at the same time, if you told me, say, for example, the Big Bang was set off by a god, I wouldn't really be surprised if that clears up. But yeah, at the end of the day, I will still stick to no, I don't believe there's a god. It's just I don't see any kind of, there's just no credence in it. I mean, there's no. I'm open-minded but very skeptical.
Yeah. So the way that it's used in sort of colloquial everyday conversation is, if you don't know, then you don't believe yet, kind of thing. So or if you're completely uncertain, then you don't believe yet. This sort of belief has to be a positive step towards this is more likely than not, basically.
Right.
So if you go, well, I it's up in the air, I have no idea, then you're probably not making that first step to saying, hey, I believe this because it's more likely than not, kind of thing.
Right.
And a lot of people use this more likely than not as a benchmark for when we start to believe in something. But that's just in colloquial conversation. In philosophy of religion, it all becomes different. So, and there's a huge argument that happens in some circles about which is the true meaning of atheism. And I just don't care. I think it's so much. Yeah, it's so much more important to understand where people are coming from. And I'm looking at you, Leo. I'm really sorry, mate. I'm looking at you. No, I'm joking. No, I love Leo. Leo's amazing.
No, he was killing me that night. I mean, you all were, but dear Lord, I was losing it. That was so
definitely
funny.
Check out his channel. And,
yeah, no, I have been. He has some great. Everyone though, yeah, check out his channel.
Yeah, well, it's interesting that I mean, a lot of these young Earth creationists that you're talking about, it's not these kind of philosophical arguments that have swayed them in the past. Like they keep trotting out these kind of arguments, but usually it's either personal experience or testimony, as they call it, personal testimony, or feeling something, or as William Lane Craig said, it was sort of not only a utilitarian argument, like Christianity does something for him. It was also Pascal's wager that kind of tipped him over the edge, rather than the philosophical arguments that he's making himself. So it's kind of weird why they're falling back on these logical arguments when that's not the things that convince them. It's very strange.
Yeah, and the one thing I noticed too, like, I mean, it's not off topic, I guess, but a little bit, that when I say that, to an atheist or just somebody that does not believe in God or religion,
Right.
it's not really, it's never a big deal, or it's never used to try to win an argument. But like to a creationist, I mean, that's like, I usually just say I'm atheist, because if they say I don't know, that's, I mean, they're instantly trying to use that to win, I guess, which even if it's not about the argument at hand, like if it's about evolution or something.
Yeah, so you probably more accurately would be called agnostic, kind of thing. That would probably be a more accurate thing. And to be honest with you, some creationists deal a lot better with agnostics. Some don't. Some sort of take this lack-theist approach as sort of an insult to their entire being and fiber, which is very strange to me.
Well, I like
But
doing
you
it
know,
too because it opens up sometimes, like with Hovind at least, it opened up a way to pry and talk about religion. Because I mean,
yeah.
that's like his entire basis for his argument, even though he tries to avoid it.
Well, I mean, you are in fine company with the Hovind Slayers out there. We kind of AJ is obviously our captain. Atheist
Oh,
Junior
he
is our captain and
freaking kills me.
leader. He is a great guy, absolute heart of gold. He is an amazing person, and I enjoy hanging out with him every time I get the opportunity.
Dude,
So
that one stream I did, like, not only did he give me a lot of advice, just
yeah,
during the stream, but afterwards, I mean, it was a fair amount of emails, lengthy ones about
yeah,
ways to improve my channel and ways to, improve my arguments and stuff. And it was, I mean,
yep.
he takes so much time, and
Oh yeah, yeah.
it's amazing.
Yeah, he's one of the best people I have ever met, and definitely check out Atheist Junior if you get a chance.
Yeah,
Out
absolutely.
there. It's yeah, he's a really really good guy, really funny. He makes me laugh a lot of the time. It's absolute champ. Have you ever thought about doing any other shows, like going to any rooms? You ever been to Amy Newman's? I might give a plug for Amy Newman here because I
Yeah,
was on hers
honestly, I just
recently.
I don't know any of them that well, or like I don't know these rooms, I guess, if that makes sense. Like the only reason I came into the open mic one was because Ian Chen we were talking about, he
Yeah.
messaged me about it, like, said, "Hey, this is going on right now if you want to join in or watch." I'm like, "Oh, sure. Why not?" And then
Yeah.
it was a lot of fun. So yeah, I just don't know of a lot of them yet.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, you said you don't know anyone there. I guess my counter to that would be, how are you supposed to meet people if you don't go into
Well,
them, kind of
right.
thing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
So,
guess I'm not know them. I guess it's like not aware of the rooms, not aware of like
well,
when it happens and stuff. I just haven't discovered a lot of them.
well, we've got James W in chat, and he's one of the hosts for that show, and it is an
Mhm.
amazing show. It's on very late at night. I think you said you're a bit of a night owl as well,
Yeah,
from memory.
absolutely.
So they are the night shift managers of atheism. They will run the late shows, and they do fantastic. I can never recommend them highly enough. That's where I started, basically. So
Yeah, I'll definitely have to check it out.
yeah, she's amazing. James is amazing. They both make an excellent team. They generally do a long show and then open up for open mic kind of thing based on the show. If you want to get good at watching something and then picking it apart, it's very good. Like if sometimes to sort of keep myself sharp, I make notes on it and then come on and talk about it, kind of thing. Really good exercises in critical thinking, examination, review of material, stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, you killed it on your debate too, like with the note taking and like staying on his points. I mean, you tried to go over as many as you could. Obviously, you're limited by time, but it was impressive to see him held to what he said so much. Hovind,
Well,
obviously, if that wasn't clear for
yeah.
everyone.
No. It's the whole thing is, I've run into it before, where you have people that gish gallop, and that's what Hovind does. He gish gallops, or as we like to call it, and the Hovind Slayers, the Hovind hustle. He basically, so it's where, and this will seem familiar to it. It's where he'll bring out a talking point and another one and another one and another one, all in very, very rapid succession. So you forget the first, second, and third one, and you address the fourth and fifth. You're like, okay, well, there's these two I can grab, and you talk about them, and then because you're focused on two, the rest are completely gone from your mind. It was invented by a guy called Dwayne Gish, who was a very prolific debater. In fact, I think Hovind wants to beat the amount of debates that Gish did. He did like 300 and something official debates.
Hmm.
But it's known to be very dishonest, kind of thing, because you're relying on swamping your opponent with points in order so they can't address everything. Some slip past and it looks like they have been undefended, kind of thing. The only way I've found around this, apart from interrupting and saying, "Hey, you're gish galloping," kind of thing, is that to take notes so that you throw it back at them, because Hoven can't keep up with his own points if they're thrown back at him.
No, not at all. I mean, God, it's like he just can't even stay on a single point. I mean,
Right.
he wants you to bring in a few points or whatever and stick with them, but anything you bring up, like you said, he's on 40 different points after that by the time he's done talking.
Yeah, and that's not an accident. That's by design. It's so that you can't address the first 3 or 4 points. You address the second, and then you basically it looks like you can't address his arguments. He's got arguments that have been completely unchallenged. I would hardly recommend, of course, I wouldn't tell anybody how to debate, but I hardly recommend getting.
No, feel free. As I said, I'm an idiot, so
notes have saved me so many times, kind of thing. When you're sort of struggling for stuff happens at the time, and you think, oh yeah, I'll remember that. You never do. That's something that I've learned over many years. Like when you're talking with people, and my background is IT, technical support, like phone technical support to be specific. But not only that, I worked in accounts, and most importantly, I worked in complaints for a telecommunications, well, 2 telecommunications companies actually. So
God, the amount of complaints you had to get.
Well, yeah,
and the crazy things you had to hear.
Well, I mean, I must admit, like most of it, I could actually, you'll have someone coming through and they're riotously angry, right? They're furious, and for good reason. That's the thing. You've got to understand and have empathy that this person, like it's nearly Christmas now, might be close to the holidays. Their internet's gone down. They're trying to do their present shopping or whatever. It's just, to have that empathy to say, hey, if I was in that situation, I'd be furious as well. But the whole point, and what has served me really well, is understanding that they're not angry at me. It's blame versus responsibility. It's I'm not to blame, and I'm not, they're not blaming me, but I am responsible for helping them. So it's sort of separating the anger at you and saying, hey, they're not blaming me, they're blaming the company, which is not me. I'm not the company, but it is my responsibility to help this person. So if you ever wonder, how does Mark deal with anger, people angry, I've been trained to do that. It's not like I've just come out of the womb and gone, I'm going to deal with this. It's I've had training in doing exactly that, like conflict resolution.
No, you did a great job in that debate, or well, and all of them, but especially the second one. I don't know why, but that one I was so furious just listening to him. He brought up that stupid Green Mile movie in the beginning, and I've heard him say that a million times. Yeah. And when he said that, it's just, I was like, oh God, this is what it's going to be. Like, because you brought up, you had a proper presentation. Like you said, a few points. It was to the T what he asks for. And it's just, I don't know. It's just so slimy. It drives me nuts.
Yeah, but I guess another thing that I learned was that when somebody's saying a lot of stuff at you, and they might be absolutely furious kind of thing, and going over point after point after point, they're not thinking about you. They're really in their own head with all these things affecting them. Making notes, and I was required to make notes of every single thing said, and so that isn't a chance either that I suddenly came out and was a prolific note-taking. I've been trained in taking notes as well. So for some weird-ass reason, all of my life experience, a large part of my life experience working on phones, dealing with complaints, dealing with IT issues, has transferred over to debate for some weird reason. I don't know why. It's just a couple of those skills. So that's what I recommend for the Gish Gallop is note down everything. If it's 5-6 points, after that, I usually have to stop them, because I know that I will not be able to address that many points in a row before they interrupt or before the conversation moves onwards. But you can do that. You fire it back at them like, this is what you said, here's the answer, because you've noted down the answer as it occurs at the time. And you never remember that afterwards. You're gone. Like if you don't note it down, you're done. You cannot remember back that far. I don't care who you are. You would have to be super powered to remember it back that far. No, I'm serious. Like I can usually remember really well bits and pieces of conversation, but I can't do that. There's no way. So I've got the answer there, go over it, go over it, go over it. And you've just rebutted everything they've said. And then they go to challenge you and they can't remember the first thing they said. They're now in the position they wanted to put you in. They're now going, what was the first point I made? What was the second? I remember the last two, kind of thing. So it's sort of almost like debate judo. You use their own momentum against them. If they want to come out with 5 or 6 points, please do. I will note it down and I will fire it back at you. And you better have a good memory, because you're going to have to try to remember everything you've said. And that's why Hovind, after I did that, he was like, oh, just stick to,
Right.
1 point. And I'm like, well, you brought these up. These were
Right.
your points. Like,
I know,
you
I'm
were the
surprised Donnie
one.
didn't jump in.
Well, he couldn't, because he knew that Hovind was the one that brought up those points. How can you say, Mark, don't bring up these points? These are his points. Like, it was like the last debate I did against him when he tried to jump in with, like, to stop me from bringing up the paper that he already brought up. Like, it was, you're basically saying, oh, you're off topic. I'm talking about the paper that you cited. How could I possibly be off topic?
I don't know. It's like, I get why he does what he does. I can never comprehend why they believe this, and how it doesn't sound ridiculous to them. I mean, they think the scientific theory of evolution sounds insane or whatever, like that's just crazy nonsense. Couldn't possibly happen. But going with some dust and making a person fully formed, that's fine, of course, no biggie.
Yeah, it's because their belief structure is based upon, and I always like using the example of Ken Ham. There was a really famous debate, Ken Ham versus Bill Nye.
Right, yeah, that was pretty funny.
Well, it was beautiful, because at the end, Bill Nye said sort of, what would convince you otherwise? And it's absolutely nothing. The structure of their belief is such that their first and primary belief is always the Bible. So what you'll find upon questioning these people is that they'll say, if the scientific evidence, no matter how overwhelming it is, and I believe AIG makes this statement, just outright, if the scientific evidence contradicts with the Bible, we're going for the Bible. So, where we would say, hey, this is scientific evidence, that's our primary sort of source of information, because that seems to be the most reliable. Then, there's sort of lesser, news reports and, whatever going down kind of thing, things that you hear from a friend, and then things that you hear in the pub by some guy called Gene, let's way down here. Things that you hear on the internet is like right at the bottom kind of thing. But in their system, it's Bible up top, anecdotes from people, personal testimonies, and then scientific methods,
right?
Which is why they'll accept the science that doesn't contradict the Bible, or what they believe doesn't contradict the Bible.
Yeah, but then use it if they think it frickin', helps their point of view.
Sure. Because they're trying to maintain that the Bible is 100% accurate. That's because they're biblical literalists, and not all Christians are biblical literalists.
Right, yeah. Most of them aren't, honestly. I mean, especially,
right.
And some of them, of course, take certain parts literally and other parts not. But no, most of them are, they believe in God and believe a fair amount of things happen in the Bible, but not that the world's 6,000 years old. That's insane. It's just, I don't know. Or dinosaurs walked with man.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Well, I think that they're sort of up there with flat earthers for their sort of cherry picking science for what backs up their beliefs kind of thing. Because
I love comparing them to flat earthers too. They get so angry at that.
Well, it's not a sort of comparison just to make them angry either. The comparison is there because they sort of say, that's not real science.
Right.
We have the real science kind of thing, and the sort of justifications they're using are very, very similar kind of thing. Like, they just are the conspiracy theories. And you'll notice McQueen, on who you said you were going to debate soon, on his sort of debate with King Crocoduck. I really do recommend it, because Crocoduck.
No, I will. I actually know nothing about him, like, at all. I've not seen a single thing about him yet.
So he's a geologist, strangely enough, but he believes that it's a young Earth, So he's sort of he's one of the scientists that they do have that are, this guy is a true scientist kind of thing. So they parade him about. Donnie kind of just marches him up and down. Because he does know about geology, like the structure of rocks.
That doesn't make sense to me. How do you know about geology and deny it? That's nonsense.
Well, this is what I was saying earlier. They're trying to him with a guy called George Bond, who's a bit obnoxious, but I've met him before. They're trying to rewrite the laws of physics so that radioactivity and radiometric decay can happen in a shorter time scale without releasing the energy that would just cook the Earth.
Well, even without that, how do they account for the fact that we don't observe that today?
Observe what?
If it happened in this time scale that they're claiming, we would observe that happening.
Like that's where the conspiracy theory comes out. That
that makes sense.
Labs that measure radioactive decay, and he sort of in the debate he was like, "Oh, there's only 100 labs in the world, and there's way more than that." I don't know if he's talking when he was, prevalent in science, but
when he was a child. I mean,
I don't know. Who knows? But there's definitely 500 or so in the world that do radiometric testing, and they all come back with the same results. So it has to be a conspiracy. And the thing that he was saying, that it wasn't a top-down conspiracy. It wasn't sort of somebody pulling the strings. It was like them wanting to preserve all of their jobs. But Ken Crocoduck had an analysis, a statistical data analysis, that showed there was no bias in the radiometric dating results. So he had gone through and done a bias study, which would have shown the outliers being a lot more prevalent if they were making up results. And it did not show those outliers, which McQueen couldn't answer and sort of more or less avoided. So that I highly recommend that debate. It was very, very good.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely have to check that out. I need to, because I need to learn a little bit about him. I mean, I don't even know where he's from.
He's from America. I believe he sounds American. So you're doing Noah's Ark, right?
Yes. Yeah, Noah's Ark, not Noah's Flood, which apparently there's a difference. I mean, I was fully going into this thinking, going over the whole thing, but apparently Noah's Ark is the topic.
Right. So I got drawn in. That was my first debate against Hovind. So you're not discussing the flood dynamics. So the creation of.
So basically, he's avoiding geology for sure.
It sounds like it, yeah. Okay. And they have a tendency to do this. They sort of say, hey, we're focusing on the ark itself and not the flood. I'm just thinking of things that he might bring up. Probably that they found the ark in.
They found that impression, like that they think the ark is.
Which
supposedly, which is nonsense. I mean, you can't. I don't know. That's just.
Well, they did the Durupenpur site is the one that I'm thinking of. They did a chemical analysis on the thing and found it to be limonite. Hang on a sec. I've got the thing here. So this is where they identified the impression as not petrified wood, but instead was it limonite? Lignite? No, not lignite. It was
I wish I could help you, but I don't.
Yeah, so basically it's a rock that is rich in iron kind of thing. So
not wood at all.
Not wood at all. So the studies show that
I'll definitely need to type that down. Remember it.
Yeah, so I'll give you the paper here. So this is one that I can't remember who found it. It's a guy that's claimed to have found the ark like 5 times already. Like it's just ridiculous. And I might as well grab the Wiki-Arty for the.
Actually gonna
Durupenpur
put that here so I have it for later because I need to start actually looking into this. coming up pretty. I think it's on December 14th. It's like coming up pretty soon.
Yeah, Ron Wyatt. He's an amateur archaeologist. He's absolutely terrible. Ron Wyatt is the name of the guy.
They are. I don't know. Like, and one, as I said, I truly don't have an issue with them believing in their religion. It's just I just can never comprehend how they don't think this is ridiculous, especially things like that. Like you're talking about having to rewrite entire, multiple fields of science. Technically, I don't know.
Yeah, so no one's ever found the remains of the Ark. I just linked the Wikipedia article. There's all of these searches that have gone on.
It would have been too big anyway, wouldn't it? I mean, to actually,
I mean, too big.
Well, I'm trying to remember where I heard it from. It might have been Bill Nye's debate with Ham. That one of his, I think, examples of Noah's Ark, or it was essentially why it's not feasible, is ship makers in New England, like not that, back in the 1700s, whatever, built one of the biggest wooden ships that we have, or maybe the biggest, and they find it would twist and bow too much and it just couldn't make it.
Correct.
Essentially. And so Noah's Ark is significantly bigger. So I don't get how it would physically, because I mean, it was like 200 feet longer or something. And I assume wider if it was real, of course.
Yeah, so there is so here's the thing. There was a tall ship around in America that was about the same length. It was maybe a tiny bit bigger, but that had problems. It had to stay near the coast because what happens is that if a wave hits one side and not the other, the planks will bow and flex kind of thing, and that will let in water. So it will get swamped and sink, which is eventually what happened to it. It basically foundered and sunk. But to deal with that, they have bilge pumps. People would just pump out the water. That's fine. And there's barges around that are the size of the Ark's supposed to be. They're wooden barges, but again, they have bilge pumps because of exactly this problem of the bowing of the wood. So that the problem becomes, well, sure, you could build a ship the size of the Ark. Just say you do it flawlessly, you'd still have to deal with water getting in. So you would need people to operate some sort of pumping mechanism, which I'm not even sure would be around at that time. We're talking about
4,000 years ago.
right. Which even if somehow he did have a pumping system, there was only like 11 people on the Ark.
Was it 11? I thought it was 8. No, I think because
was it 8?
It might have been 11. I can't remember off the top of my head.
No, you're probably right. I haven't done this debate in ages. It's probably 8. But okay, so 8 people on the Ark. If people have to be constantly bilge pumping, it's insane that that many people would be able to bilge pump, cook, clean, do maintenance on the boat, and take care of tens of thousands of animals, or 10,000 animals, or whatever they're putting the estimate at. Usually.
Oh yeah, last time I heard, I think it was 7,000 kinds, so I guess 14,000 animals.
Yeah, I mean, I usually the lowest I've heard is 10,000. That's the most conservative estimate that I've heard. So I usually, to be charitable,
right,
go with the lowest amount that I've heard. But yeah, 14,000 is another number I've heard. I've heard 10. I've heard 25,000. I've heard a few different numbers. That,
which is so so even if they like that, I mean, so these 8 people could magically do all that. They're godly, I guess, whatever. But you still have the problem to me with the whole just dinosaurs being. They would have to be on it, I guess, or at least they were around when it was built, I think. I mean, I've heard different things, but it's like there's just so much nonsense they have to pile on top to make this work, and I don't understand it.
In my last Ark debate, I think it was against Hoban, I sort of explained that it's like trying to plug a dam. As soon as you cover one hole, other problems spring open, kind of thing. So you try to plug the whole of the water getting into the boat, and another problem. How did they operate the bilge pumps? Where did they get the bilge pumps from? They spring open. for your question, so many animals and how the hell did they fit all the dinosaurs on? They were babies comes up, right? They
Yeah,
were
yeah.
babies.
I've
So,
heard
but
freaking
then
Ham say
then
that.
that opens another problem of babies require more care, not less, right? And um, the average zookeeper, I think the amount of animals to zookeeper is like um 10 to 1, I think, in zoos, kind of thing. 10 to 1 or 100 to 1. I found this ratio a while ago. Like a zookeeper cannot take care of thousands of animals. It's just impossible.
Right.
And to be really generous, just say they could look after 1,000 animals each, which is an insane number. That's still only 8,000 animals. They cannot take care of that amount of animals. The other one that I had that really zonked them was eating. Like, what did the obligate carnivores eat, kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, never mind. Go ahead. Say what you're gonna say.
Well, they sort of then will claim, well, they ate straw and hay because they were vegetarian at that
Right.
point. And
It's like, what do you mean? That's just that's the craziest.
Hoven brings up this lion which subsisted on, during World War II, it subsisted on lettuce, kind of thing. What he left out was they were actually putting protein in the form of eggs into that lion's food, like a lot of eggs per day, to give it the protein that it needs.
Right.
Because it needs that protein. He sort of says, oh, it can survive on lead. No, it can't. They were putting eggs in it to give it the protein, or else it would die. And he's like, well, the eggs could have come from chickens that they kept. And it's like, okay, so now you're adding on the job of keeping chickens and collecting the eggs, kind of thing. So as soon as they plug one hole, two more open up somewhere else, two more problems arise. And to pick up on these problems, that's where you're going to live, Ryan. That's where you're going to have your fun. Because if you can just simply go, okay, well, what problems does this answer bring up? And so what I brought up was like, well, what about the eagles? You can't possibly be suggesting that eagles with their, beak were eating hay. And the answer is yes, they were eating hay. And I'm like, how did it chew the hay? Like, and you can point out that the teeth structure of large, big cats, you cannot chew hay with that. And eagles, they can't chew hay. Like, yeah,
it wouldn't surprise me if they just come out and say, well, actually, now we discovered God probably gave him food and just gave him supplies. I mean, he did everything else basically.
There's a problem with that, and here's the problem they have. As soon as they start appealing to miracles, and they're very, very aware of it. As soon as they start appealing to miracles, you can kind of go, well, why didn't God just get rid of all of the other humans and leave them without the flood and why didn't he just pop them out of existence if he's going to do a miracle? So they have this idea that he couldn't have done a miracle. He had to have used the flood, which, sort of wasn't, was sort of miraculous in a way, but it was a natural event that God caused, kind of thing. Because if he's going to use his supernatural powers to do it, there's a myriad of different ways he could have done it that's better than getting someone to build a boat, making it rain, and then having everybody wiped out and then float around, for a year, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I always like to say too, in the whole beginning thing, like with Adam and Eve, with the serpent nonsense, it's just, if your God is almighty and all-knowing and all-powerful, then he either is the liar by omission because he wanted that to happen. He knew it was going to happen and let it happen, or he didn't know and he clearly isn't all-powerful. Like, that's just, it's right from the beginning. I don't their whole story falls apart for me. That's why I had such an issue with religion.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. So their position is one that's very strange to me, and it doesn't logically make sense to me. It's kind of that God allows free will, but he knows the free will choices that you're going to make ahead of time,
Right.
which to me precludes free will, because there's no other choice you can possibly make. Like, you cannot choose to not eat the fruit at that point, because
No,
if
because it
God's
truly comes down to, can you surprise God then? Because if you can't, then
right.
he's not he is all knowing and you don't have free will. But if you can, then he's not all knowing. Like there's so many contradictions that they just I don't know how they look over it all.
Well, it's logically contradictory to me. I see what they're trying to say. They're trying to say that, hey, and somebody explained it as like watching a videotape kind of thing. Like you know what's already happened, but as I said, like in a videotape, the sequence is going to happen exactly the same. There is no agency that the people in a videotape have to do something different. You know, it is already what it is. So that sort of nullifies that argument. But I kind of see what they're trying to say. They're trying to say that God lets the entire thing play out as free will and then knows what the choices are. But I think there's some real logical problems there. With that, if it is that he sees what's going to happen, those things are set. There is no other way they can possibly be. And you can sort of investigate that by saying, hey, just say, you know, God knows that I'm going to eat an apple. Is there any way that I can stop from eating that apple? Is there any way that will change? Is there any decision I can make that will not lead to me eating the apple? And if the answer is no, then I don't truly have free will. Mm-hmm. That is already set in motion, and it's inviolable because God's supposed to be all powerful. So, all knowing, so omniscient. So if he can't tell, if he makes a mistake, then he's not omniscient anymore.
Yeah, and I don't know. It just goes back to that they have to cherry pick everything. I mean, it's not even cherry picking science; it's cherry picking their own religion. You know, they have to leave things out that they don't want to talk about. I mean, there's like, I don't remember what Bible or version it is, but something stupid like, you know, it's a sin essentially to wear a shirt woven by two different fabrics
mixed
or something.
Threads,
yeah. It's like right there. I mean, either if you take it literally, then you're definitely sinning every single day, because that doesn't. I mean,
yeah, you can kind of take it both. Like they point to a part in the New Testament where it says Jesus came to fulfill the law, not to change it, kind of thing. So they're taking fulfilled to mean it's over, done with, and the Old Testament doesn't apply anymore. But that raises the question, why go back to the 10 Commandments then? If what you're saying is true, then the 10 Commandments do not apply.
Right.
Because there wasn't just 10 Commandments, there was 300 and something of them. I can't remember how many.
Yeah. It was definitely, or was it 600? It might have been 300. I don't know. It was a lot, regardless.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. So if you take that logic, then the 10 Commandments don't kind of apply anymore, and it gets real sort of fuzzy for them. So again, it's sort of a case of they're coming up with problems when they sort of say this thing. But the mixed thread one isn't even the worst of those. You know, like you shouldn't boil a mother calf in a calf in their mother's milk or something like that. And it's like,
and that's the thing. Like, you can go for such. I mean, because there's a lot of horrid things said in both testaments, but especially the old one. And you can all. I mean, I like to go to those, but at the same time, I go for the weird ones too, just because. The people that say they take the Bible literally is where I get, you know, the horrible things they like to claim. Sometimes that's poetic or, you know, interpreted different, but something like that. I mean, I don't understand how that could be poetic or interpreted in any other way. You know, it's a very simple, like apparently sin that you shouldn't do, but why? And then why do you do it today? Why is it okay now? You know, I
think I don't push back on it because, like, for instance, you get the one about homosexuality. Like, if a man lies with another man as they do a woman, they shall be stoned and their blood shall be upon them, kind of thing. Right. So basically, there's no poeticness. It basically says to kill gay people. There is no, you know. But however, if they want to ignore that, and you might say, hey, the Baptist Church, Westboro Baptist Church, that believes this stringently. To be honest, they have an accurate view of the Bible Old Testament. That is what the Old Testament says. However, that is horrifying.
Yeah,
So if
absolutely.
people want to believe that that doesn't apply anymore, I'm not going to refute them of that belief, because, you know, how could I in good conscience start going, well, your book says to, you know, stone gay people. Isn't that what you should be doing? I don't want to go there. You know, I don't want to
That's the thing,
suggest they do that.
I would never want to go there with, your average religious person, because
Right.
I don't care that you believe in your religion. That's great if you find meaning out of it. But when you're like Hovind or even Ken Ham or the Discovery Institute, you're actively going out to not only deny science but essentially tear it down, and, as I said in the beginning, potentially hinder the growth of children intellectually. Like, you're just scum. And I'll go anywhere just to, I guess, show how ridiculous it is to say that, that literal belief in the Bible, or technically, or honestly, almost any religious text. Because it's not like it's just Christianity or the Bible. It's just obviously the one I'm most familiar with.
Just 1 second, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, Sunflower's getting upset because there's just us two talking. He's described it as a 2-person circle jerk. Look, Sunflower.
Sunflower.
This is just. Haven't you met Sunflower before?
No, I don't think so. Maybe they've commented on my video, but I don't think so. I think so.
So Ryan asked me to have a discussion with him just about general topics and young Earth creationism and things like that, and that's what I'm doing today. I usually don't hold open rooms. Usually, I mean, if Ryan wants to, we can open up the room. It's entirely up to him. He is my guest, and I will be treating my guest with courtesy and respect.
No, yeah, I mean, definitely. But I'm fine with anything. But at the same time, it's I get I'm the guest, but this is your thing. It's on your channel. Like, I want this to be what you want it to be. But I'm fine with anything. Absolutely.
No. You're my guest, Ryan. Like, really. You asked me to have a discussion. I'm more than happy to do so. If you want to open the room, great. If not, my time is yours at the moment. So, and Sunflower would like you to ask you to treat my guests with a bit more respect, mate. There's no reason.
Was Sunflower in the open mic that we were in that time?
Maybe. I don't know. They all blur together for me, Ryan.
I'm really bad with names too. I suck with remembering names. But yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. If that's, especially if it make it more entertaining, for sure. Yeah, jump in. I mean, I don't.
Well, as long as it's okay with you.
No, I'm truly, like, I'm here for one because I am, as I said, a fan of yours, and also just because you were beyond nice enough to have me. Like, and it would make it, especially if it's Sunflower. I mean, like, what opinion is it? If it's different, that would be, could be even more interesting potentially.
Yeah. So I'll put in an open room. I can't update it at the moment, can I? Okay, so I'm terrible at YouTube. Just letting you know.
Don't worry. I'm still learning it.
So I guess, I mean, I'm more than happy to open it up. I mean, we're going for an hour, so I'm more than happy to open it up for an open room. We can just continue talking if
you're only going for an hour, though, we don't. I mean, I don't know what.
No. We've just had a conversation for an hour. Right?
Oh, I got you.
This is what you got to understand, man. We've been talking for a while, and it seems like no time at all.
No, it doesn't. I wasn't even paying attention to the time, honestly. Wow. But yeah, I mean, I'm somewhat limited. I should probably get off in about, half an hour, I'd say. I got the kid and stuff, but
yeah, sure.
But again, if you guys are, if you're doing the open room, which is cool, if you keep talking, obviously, feel free. Don't I wouldn't want you stopping it because of me, is all I'm saying.
No. All good, mate. Not a problem at all. I'll just update the thingo, and I guess I will open this sucker up, and we can just continue talking. And if Sunflower wants to come in and have a chat to us, I'm more than happy to. I've interacted with Sunflower on ages. A lot of people think have a negative opinion. I don't think so. I think Sunflower's fine.
What did Sunflower even say? I've not been keeping up with the comments.
He's asking what the point is of this entire endeavor, kind of thing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like he said, it's to have a chat, basically. I mean, Yeah, like we discussed a little bit about doing something, I guess, more not scripted, but more of a like going over a debate or something, like more of a point, if that makes sense.
Analysis. Yeah,
But
yeah.
for me, this is our first time. I mean, we had the open
Mhm.
mic, but our first time with just us, and I thought it would make
Yeah.
more sense just to keep it open and more free flowing, just to, I guess, if it sounds weird, a weird way to put it, but build that chemistry. Because if you did that, going over something, maybe next time could be more fun and
Yeah,
interesting.
sure. Yeah, no, I'd love to. That usually that's what I do interviews for, kind of thing. Like I will talk to people and sort of ask where they've come from and
Mhm.
and where they're going and what their goals are, on YouTube. And I find it incredibly fascinating. And I do that for both sort of,
Yeah, well, if you
theists.
have any more questions, feel free to. I mean, if there's
Oh
something I
yeah.
need to make more clear.
Well, I mean, I'm not prepared. Like you said, you didn't
Right.
want an interview, so I
Yeah.
sort of, parked all of my usual, questions that I would be asking, and just came on for a conversation.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think that sort of, because I love to get people thinking about stuff and coming back with a reply that I can really dig into. I think I can learn
Mhm.
a lot about people like that. It's a really good experience for me, actually. I do enjoy doing interviews. I adore debate. I love doing debates. I do debates for free. I don't. I just really enjoy them. So I
Mhm.
will do them all the time.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
that's kind of my main thing with making videos. Like, I've always enjoyed it. I mean, before this, years and years ago when I was in high school, I streamed on Twitch,
mm,
and I've made videos like throughout my years. I mean, even in freaking middle school when I was like skateboarding, I had a stupid video camera and I'd record a skateboarding and whatnot. I didn't even post any of that stuff. That was just for fun. I mean, I've just always had fun with it, and I just never, I guess, never had a good enough consistent thing that I wanted to go after to really
right.
get me motivated. But especially with the kid now, it's just cool to have some kind of
Mm,
hobby. But it is somewhat turning more into something a little more serious. I got 2 patrons now, not a lot, but it's
wow.
cool. It's amazing for me. I'm like astonished by it. So yeah, I guess now
Yeah.
I'm taking it more seriously.
I don't know how I feel about Patreon. Like someone said, "Hey, you should make a Patreon." I'm like, look,
Trust me, I am in the same boat. And honestly, the only reason I did it at first is just because pretty much everyone I watch on YouTube does it.
right,
And I just recently did an Amazon wish list to like
mm,
make the channel better. So just like a microphone, green screen, like random stuff. And somebody got me something off of it. Like I said, it's coming tomorrow. And I did not want to do it. I mean, it took a lot of convincing by a viewer of mine. And I guess I just did because, as he put it, you know, people want to. There's people out there that want to support you to keep you making
yeah,
content and make it so your content can even be better. I don't usually I don't talk about it a lot in videos. I just have it linked in the descriptions. I rarely bring it up, but I've been trying to, I guess, more because he told me to, quite frankly. But
hmm
yeah, I mean, I don't know. In my opinion, especially at your point, I really think you should. I mean, you're not saying some massive channel, obviously, but you're getting close to that monetization point, and
yeah, that's
you
true.
you would absolutely have people that want to support you. I mean, you're like I said, I'm a huge fan of yours. I know it's weird for you to hear, but I am. Like
It is. It's
your debates
so
were
weird, Ryan.
amazing.
It's so weird.
I get it.
I'll just invite Sunflower in because he was bitching and moaning. Sorry, Sunflower. You are welcome, mate. Honestly. But yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like. I mean, a part of me goes, well, you're going to have to do content and keep up with content too. If people are giving you money, there is that pressure that I have to make stuff because people are financially
Right. Yeah. They're supporting you
contributing.
monetarily.
Right. That I feel like there's that expectation there. But at the same time, I'm sitting there thinking, well, I'm doing content anyway. Like
Right.
I'm enjoying doing what I'm doing anyway.
No, and
Um,
in my opinion, it made me feel like a lot better about it and motivated me more to
mm,
make stuff more like, and not only
right,
that, I mean, I know I only have 2, as I said, but both of them were like unequivocally, we don't need anything for this. We don't need anything extra. We
right.
don't just keep doing what you're doing essentially. And
Mm,
that's, I mean,
yeah.
that, And I'm not saying there won't be somebody that maybe gets a little weird about it or something, but I don't know. It's definitely, for me, it's, amazing. It just feels amazing too. Like it's a
That's
bizarre
really good.
feeling.
Oh, that's good. That's good, Ryan. I'm glad. I'll have a think about it. I'm not 100% sure. I never expected to be where I'm at, even as
Yeah,
small as
same.
I am. It's very, very strange to me. So I think I might need a bit of time to wrap
Yeah, and
wrap
just for
my
some
head around.
context to people listening, like I mean, me, if you haven't looked at my channel, I'm at like 340 subs and maybe 80,000 views total, something like that on
Mm,
the channel. So yeah, very small, but I don't know. It's just like the comments alone are obviously amazing sometimes. Like I like both of them. I
mm.
like the obviously supportive
Oh,
comments, but I
yeah,
love the ones that go against me because I like arguing and it's just fun. And some of them are just so ridiculous, especially people like that Roger from Mud Fossil. His topics are
yeah,
so out there, so the comments are even more out there, and
yeah.
it's endlessly entertaining. But yeah, the people supporting, it's just it's a whole
Well,
nother feeling.
sometimes people write essays in the comments, and I'm like, I can't get into a debate. Like I'm sort of like, no offense, I'll debate you in person, but I cannot do a debate in typing in the comment section, sort of
No,
thing.
I'm one of those
Um,
people. I'm like, I respond to pretty much every comment, like even the stupidly. Sometimes they are too long, and I'm not in the mood, and I'll wait, a day or maybe even longer. But yeah, I try
mm.
to reply to every single comment. I want to make a comments video, but I just haven't done it yet.
Yeah, I haven't been able to lately because my like did something to my hand, like RSI or something, from typing too much. So
Oh,
I'm trying not to type, and I have to type my left, which is absolutely terrible. Like one-handed typing is not cool. It's not fun. It's terrible. But I've got
no.
some anti-inflammatories, and it's clearing up. But yeah, I've got to really watch it at the moment so I don't flare it up again. It's terrible because I type a lot. Like not only do I do this and type to people all the time, I also am in university, and part of that is coding. So I'm also coding stuff. So
Oh wow, yeah, you're
I
typing
I type,
constantly.
yeah, I type a lot. So yeah. Oh, thanks, Big Screen Bird. Marking that tasty shiny nugget. Thanks again. Cheers. No, I love it. The people that I've met here are absolutely gorgeous,
Oh,
and the
I know.
comments
Some
are
of them are.
wonderful.
I like the people that especially come back, and comment
Mm,
multiple times through multiple videos or whatever. It's astonishing to me every single time when I see the same person coming back. I'm like, why are you still watching my videos? They're not good, but thanks either way. But no, this oh crap, I completely lost my train of thought there.
that's right. I'm just keeping one eye on chat to see if
No,
Sunflower's
yeah.
actually going to come in. Sunflower, how can you complain that it's a big circle jerk? You get invited in and then you don't come in. Like, how is that?
Yeah, that's kind of a that's not a great look, man. I mean,
Yeah, I'm really sorry, mate. I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but you kind of walked right
yeah,
into
yeah. I
this.
mean, you
So
started it. I mean, look, it
yeah,
literally says, discussion with me, young Earth creationists, and other topics. I mean, it couldn't be any more self-explanatory. Sorry, I'm
yeah.
not the most entertaining person in the world.
No, you're fine. You're
No, I'm just
fine.
kidding. No, and
Why
it doesn't.
dramatizations? Why dramatizations? Like what?
So,
Yeah.
I not a great story or reason, but I had my stream from a long time ago was Radler Productions, and then
Mhm.
I actually had another one before that, Radler Game or Rad Gaming or something like that. But anyway, um, so I wanted to do something different, and I was just like the night after I decided I wanted to do it. My fiance loves murder shows, like criminal whatever, not like dramas, but what word am I looking for here? Just true crime, like true crime shows.
Right.
Thank you.
Yep.
Sorry,
Yep.
I could not think of that. But anyway, so in it, like anytime they're showing a scene of someone getting murdered or something like that, it
Mhm.
says dramatization, and
Yeah. Yeah.
I like the sound of it. I guess like that's really,
Nice.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It just kind of popped right there. I said it in my head and I enjoyed it, and yeah, it's
Hmm.
just for some reason that's what I went with.
That's fine. I totally get you. There's some words that I get obsessive about and love to use them. Some words are amazing.
And it
I
sounds
think,
a little weird, but also because it has a Z in it, at least here apparently. So
yeah,
I've the one person I know from Australia that watches a lot. You guys spell it with an S, not
yeah,
a Z. Yeah, so
yeah.
did not know that, but makes
Really?
sense. There's a lot of words like that, obviously. But yeah, no, didn't
Well,
know that at all.
well,
Yeah,
technically you're wrong because the English spell it like that as well, and
well, yeah, but
that they did invent the language. You got to admit. So
they did, but we
I
improved it. I mean,
improved it, yeah,
no, I'm just
absolutely.
kidding.
But
No,
well, you
it's
took out the U in honor and things, so I think that's a bit of an improvement. So yeah,
honestly though, I actually don't. I don't. So it might just. So growing up, I was for like I watched BBC and the Science Channel.
mm-hmm.
Like those are my two channels ever. Even when I was a kid. Like
Yeah,
I mean, I especially Top Gear. Obviously, grew up loving Top Gear and
yeah.
loved freaking Doctor Who and just a lot of shows on there. But anyway, so I don't know if it's because of that or what, but I prefer when it's spelled with a U. I don't spell it like that because that would be kind of weird. But
Right,
to
right.
me, it looks better. The color the same way. I don't know
Mhm.
why, but it looks more appealing. But I don't know if it's just because I've seen it more, maybe. But I don't know. For
Do
some
you know
reason,
how we can improve the English language?
what's that?
Just get rid of the W altogether. Like we don't need it. We don't need it. We could use a U for every single W instead, and it would work exactly the same.
Hmm. Trying to think of that. See that? I mean,
It
I
would
could
look
see
a
it.
bit weird to start, like
Yeah.
watermelon would be but
I
that
mean, they've gotten
law.
rid of characters before, so it's fair.
Yeah,
Things
yeah.
language evolves.
Right. So I want to start the petition to remove the W from the English language and replace it with a single U. I expect you to be fully on board, Ryan, and be back me up on this.
No, I already went and signed it. We're good.
All right. Okay. No, it's something somebody once told me, and he's like, think of a word that you couldn't use a U instead of a W and get the same sound, and I'm like,
I mean, it's fair.
yeah.
See,
It would.
I guess I'm weird though too. Like I've always enjoyed
Oh,
linguistics,
thanks, Gur. Thanks, Gur. I
and
really appreciate it, man.
I kind of like the W. Like the part of the
Yeah.
reason I also went for
Yeah.
dramatization is because I like the letter Z. If I know that's weird, but it's
Right.
just not it doesn't get used often.
So did you know that we don't call that Z either?
Yes.
We call it Z.
Yes. Yeah,
It's
I
very
know.
strange.
Dude, and it honestly, so there's a lot of times where it's not as bad anymore because I don't
Mm,
watch it, I guess, as much. But growing up, I would have to stop myself from not using the accent, but saying words that like British people would. Like,
right.
it's just because I'd hear it so much. I mean, I was watching, that was a big majority of my television.
Like
And
lift
well,
instead of
yeah,
elevator
yeah,
and
and
lorry instead of
until
truck.
and
Or yeah.
another or just like not that I would all I it was kind of bad when I was young, like young. I'm talking probably 6, 7. I would say bloody for a lot.
Yeah.
And I think part of that was just getting away with the cuss word, as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's just so I don't want to do that because I don't like that accent, that Anglo, like that American British accent. It's weird to me. So I definitely try not to. But honestly, I prefer Zed. To me sounds better than saying Z,
Right.
just because there's two, like, I don't know, like T C T P, like
Yeah, but
they
that
sound so similar. It's hard
but
sometimes.
that follows convention, right? So if you're talking about it as in like, you have C, D, G, T, it follows convention, and then it's Z, which is completely different than any other word in the alphabet, right? What else
It
is like?
is.
Is there a TED? Is there a said? Like there's none of it does that except for this one. So I think
No,
you've
it is
actually got us
honestly.
beaten there. Definitely an improvement there.
No,
Um,
it's hard for me to say our country does because man, it's a bizarre place here. It really is.
it worries me a lot. It really does. I mean, I must admit it is colored by sort of what I see on the news because I don't live there, so that's all I
Right.
see, kind of thing. So I must admit that it is colored by that a bit, but it's just the whole idea of someone walking down the street with a gun is just so foreign to me. Like, it just is so bizarre.
Yeah,
It
no, I
just
get it.
doesn't.
Trust me. I mean, like,
Oh,
it's not
it's
bizarre to me,
insane.
obviously, because I'm
Yeah,
so used to it. Like, especially where I live. I live in Ohio. I don't know if I told you that or went over
I
that,
think so.
but
Yeah, yeah.
and from a very just conservative small area, not a big population whatsoever, like couple thousand people.
Yeah.
So the gun thing is extremely common. I mean, grocery stores, gas stations, anywhere. If they're out in public, they got a gun on them. It's normal, but to me, but I understand completely why it's not, because it's just 99.999% of the time there's nothing going on, especially where
Yeah.
I'm from. I mean, there's basically
Yeah.
zero crime. There's just not that many people. And yeah, I don't get it. But at the same time, I'm not a big gun person. I used to be. I used to actually do shooting competitions and stuff, but I I don't know. I've never carried one, out in public and stuff. Don't have my concealed carry, nothing like that.
I only know one person that owns a gun, and that's my brother, because he's
Wow.
a police officer. Well, the only reason he has one is he's a police officer. That's the only reason. So,
See, and so
and
obviously to me that's wild, but
yeah, I don't know anybody, and nobody, like, people are like, oh, aren't you worried about being robbed? And it's like, no, not at all.
Well, and that's the
And
thing.
what?
Even when they say that here, because now obviously there's a lot of crime here. There is, but there's also a lot of people. I mean, there's
Yeah,
10 times more people here essentially than in Australia.
yeah.
So yes, crime happens a lot, but for most people, most of the time, it doesn't. I mean,
Well,
that's
I
the
think,
thing. Like,
yeah, well, you could measure it by per capita, basically, and I
right,
don't
and
think America per capita has any more crime than Australia.
yeah, no, it's
Um,
it's not that. Like, there is,
yeah,
of course, a lot of bad places. Even here in Ohio,
sure,
there's a fair
but there
amount of
is in
cities that,
Australia as well.
right,
That's
yeah,
the thing. Like, you can't just say,
and
hey,
arguably your country, not that you would, I'm saying you need guns more, but you have some sketchy wildlife, and we do here, obviously, not
mhm,
not particularly in Ohio, really, but out west, especially, and down south. So I mean, it could be more necessary. I mean,
yeah.
like up in Alaska, it's very, you kind of want to have a gun. Like, there's freaking polar bears, whatever
Yeah,
else, I guess, that can kill
but
you.
here's the
Polar
thing.
bears.
Like, here's the thing. You can still get guns in Australia if you're a farmer, or
Right.
you go out into a bushlands or whatever. You can get a license and get a gun. It's not really a problem. It's just they've got a lot more stringent checks for background, and they've got a lot more stringent checks on how you're keeping the firearm, and restrictions on where you get ammunition from. There's a lot of restrictions, basically, but you can
Mhm.
still own a gun. That's not a problem. You just won't be able to own a fucking assault rifle for a start. And you won't be able to own a arsenal, basically, like you can in America.
Yeah,
They will
absolutely.
keep stringent, sort of, like, if you've got to have a gun for shooting rabbits or something, or you live in an Arnhem Land or something, and you've got to protect yourself from crocs or something, you'll
Mhm.
be able to get a rifle or a shotgun kind of thing, but you won't be able to get one of these, sort of AR-15s kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
like, I grew up next to somebody that he has literally had an arsenal. I mean, his entire basement was
mhm.
just gun lockers lined, and I mean, something like, nearly 1,000 guns.
Yeah.
It was just, yeah, and it's like,
What
that's
are
not
you going to
necessary.
use them for? Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
I mean, and
No,
I
I
get,
got you.
like, wanting a collection and stuff, but I don't know.
Yeah, and I agree with what James said. Just 1 second. I've got just Jonas for just 1 second, and I'll add him to the stream. Hello, Jonas. How you doing?
Hi, I'm doing good. Hi.
Good to see you again.
Yeah,
It's
it
been
was
a
a
while.
fun convos last time. Yeah, gets intense sometimes.
Yeah.
Always a party
But
here.
well, it's always something. I don't know. I can't say I'd put it in a box, but definitely something. James, I agree. People don't feel compelled to own a gun in Australia. There's no, like, I don't feel any need to have a gun whatsoever. Just no need at all. Um, Most people feel that way. Nobody worries about their stuff. Nobody worries about being assaulted. It's perfectly fine.
Yeah, and I mean, I can't obviously speak for every American, but by any means, but like me personally, I do own one simply because it was, given, passed down, whatever, but I don't feel need to, at least in
Right.
my situation, in my small town.
No, that's fair enough. And I suppose it would depend on where you do live. Like you were saying, some areas are better than others, obviously. It's just, I guess the only reason I bring it up is because people do say to me, like, aren't you worried about, being assaulted in the night? And I'm like, no, not in the slightest.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. That's never happened here. That's for sure. Not to me.
Yeah, and Kata makes a good point. Some people do worry about being assaulted, but I think the thing is that you're not worried about being assaulted with a gun.
Yeah.
You're not really worried about being attacked with a gun, because crime still happens here. There's
Right.
no doubt about it. But without guns, it's more sort of physical assaults that people generally survive. There are knifings that happen. That does happen, but generally they're a lot easier to survive and a lot less people get hurt. I think that the problem in America with sort of mass shootings is just out of control, like out of control. I
Yeah,
cannot.
it's a bit ridiculous. I mean, I don't understand. I don't know. I don't understand not why it happens, but that mindset of going into a school or whatever and just
Yeah, yeah.
especially a school like that. I just can never comprehend that. I mean,
Well, I remember the Columbine one, and that one, where the boys were being sort of picked on and bullied, kind of stuff, which does not excuse their actions. It was
no.
absolutely terrible, but you could see the lead up to them, having this solution to their problem, which isn't a solution, of course. It's just, we're going to take revenge for all of the stuff done to us, these ostracized people. Um, I can see where that led. I can see why those kids did it. The Sandy Hook one, I cannot fathom that. That is just so bewildering to me.
Like it's mostly a psychology deal. It's not really access to guns that causes a problem like that. It's more just about how society, treats some people, or how, the mentality that people get um uh with the way that it is here in the states. I feel like it pushes a lot of people, because I had in high school, I had a friend who actually ended up assisting in a murder, and yeah, he was kind of you could see that he had some problems mentally, trying to figure out what it is that he where he fit in society, and just not being able to find uh, help ended up contributing to that. And
Mm.
yeah, he it was really I would say interesting, but it's, it's tragic, but
No, yeah, I
it
get it
was
though.
it's
Interesting doesn't.
intriguing in the way that, like, man, like I was friends with somebody like with that mental state. Like if I had known like that would lead to something like that, I could have like helped out and been, there. But it's you just never know. People just go off the deep end. Some people are
Well,
just crazy.
I mean, I can go one further, because I was absolutely ostracized in high school. I had no friends, completely bullied all the time. Some of the stuff that happened to me was chilling, just sort of real abusive stuff. So I can, the level of anger that I had at the entire world for sort of, the situation that I was in, and the level of anger and frustration that I had. I would never do that, but I can kind of understand what these people, the level of anger they carry in them if they're bullied and abused, and the entire world is abusing them. I can kind of understand where they're coming from, and so I kind of, that's not to say that it's right. It's just, that the problem is that they're abused, they're picked on, they hate the world, and then they take that out on the people they feel is responsible. Um, it's absolutely heartbreaking. And I don't think I would end up as one of those people, but I can understand where they're coming from, because I carried such hate with me for everybody and the entire world for years and years and years. Just real hatred of everybody around me. So I think that sort of anger I can understand. I don't think it justifies their actions, but I can understand. Yeah.
Yeah, for the gun rights thing that you guys were talking about right before I came in, I feel like people in the U.S. They have the right to own a gun, but again, Ryan was saying that it doesn't feel like it's necessary a lot of the time, and I can kind of understand that because it's not like a something that for self-defense a lot of the time you don't need something that's long range like a gun to solve the problem or something like that. Like they have those little cans of mace for
Right.
people to
Yeah.
get people away from you that are physically trying to assault you, and that's typically when you're going to have a confrontation that's going to be close, and you're not going to need to be 20 feet away from somebody in order to stop something from happening.
Right. There's less than lethal solutions. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like tasers as well will work. They will stop just about anybody in their tracks. Yeah, absolutely. No, I totally agree with you, Jonas. Do you own a gun?
I do not actually. My dad owns several, but they keep them in the gun safe, and they're mostly like hand-me-downs from
Right.
like what Ryan
Which
was
is
saying.
a very common thing here. It's like a lot of people do look at Americans, all the same, of course, fair enough, from other countries, but a lot of people either aren't interested or simply have them because they were hand-me-downs or just part of the family.
Yeah, gotcha. And I guess that's where I really want to challenge my own stereotypes that I make, because that's one of the reasons why America is a place that is pretty low on my list to visit. I'm sorry, guys. I'll be brutally honest.
I get it.
It is, and plus all I see is the news, and you see the MAGA people and
yeah. I mean, honestly,
demonstrations.
overall, it's like anywhere else. I mean, that people are very similar in a lot of ways. I mean, your experience here most likely would be like most other people's. You meet fairly pleasant people and very nice people, and probably run into an asshole here or there, but overall you're going to see a lot of beautiful views or big cities, depending on what you do, of course. But you could just have that freak chance that something does happen, and I think that's where the gun debate always has to come down to, is like, yes, it just because there is access to guns doesn't mean something's going to happen, but at the same time, it can happen because there's access. So it is a tough thing.
My deal is that it should be legal, because if it was made illegal, it wouldn't stop people from committing crimes that are going to be needing those weapons. They're already doing something illegal to begin with. Like being able to defend yourself on the same level as someone who is going to have those weapons regardless of whether or not they're legal is what makes the difference.
Yeah, and honestly, at this point too, like, I truly believe to make it illegal or even a little bit, it's going to cause way more problems than it would solve.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's just...
Well, yeah, I must admit I'm not in America, and we're different culturally, I get that, but I think what it would stop is the sort of lone gunman that is, has mental health issues that gets a gun and goes and shoots up places.
I mean, I don't think it would at all, because I mean, if you're not going to get it, if you're planning on doing something like that, you're going to have connections to people that are going to have guns anyways. Like,
well, and unfortunately,
take a gun from one of your friends or something whose dad owns a gun.
Yeah, and honestly, I think at this point, it's I know it's a bad way maybe to look at it, but it's kind of too late. Like, it is so prevalent and ingrained into the culture here that you couldn't take them away in a big enough capacity to actually make a difference, like to stop something like that from happening. You might lessen it maybe by making things a lot stricter, but as I said earlier, I truly think that route would just cause more issues. It would just separate the country more and cause more
I
violence.
mean, you can 3D print
Yeah, that's true too.
guns anyways.
That's a worry. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
definitely a worry.
there's
I
people.
think
They had a collection of guns in Texas, I think it was, where they were offering money for people to turn in their guns, and somebody just 3D printed like 200 guns and got the cash for each one of them they turned in.
Well, I think the way that Australia did it is that the incident that happened that was in Tasmania, it basically solidified the country behind, we've got to solve this, because it was the largest mass shooting in the world. It was incredibly bad. So I don't think that population mentality is there, although we did have a lot of pushback. But I think what they kind of did is they offered a buyback. But after that, they put the penalties for owning a gun illegally like through the roof. Like that's the thing. Like it became more of a punishment to own a gun than it would be to do a burglary kind of thing.
Right.
So people would not take a gun to a burglary, because if they did, they'd be looking at a huge sentence rather than something that they could potentially come out of the other end of. So and plus, people stopped taking guns to burglaries and things because nobody owned guns. So, you didn't have to take the gun because you wouldn't be in danger of being shot by somebody.
Right.
It's sort of understanding the mentality of criminals and what makes them tick that allowed it to work. But having said that, I totally acknowledge, Jonas, that they're two separate countries with two separate cultures. Two sets of different laws, in sort of, legislative systems. It is different. I get that. I'm just saying that it did work for Australia and worked incredibly well. The fact that there is no political sort of motivation to do this, and there's no public motivation to do it, I think those are the problems, not that it wouldn't work. If the public was motivated to hand in all guns, I think it would work, but they're not. You've got elements that will die before that ever happened. So, and like I said, we didn't ban guns altogether. You can still own a gun. It just has to be highly registered. You have to be past certain checks. Because what amazes me is that you don't have to have a license to have a gun. Like, you don't have to be licensed or trained in any way to have a gun, but you do to drive a car. And a car is a transport tool that gets you around the place, while a gun is designed to kill things. Like, it is a killing tool. But why you have to have a license and registration for one but not the other, it's beyond me. Like, I cannot understand that.
Yeah, and I really hate to do this because this conversation's awesome. This whole stream has been, but I do have to get going.
Yeah, sure,
but
Ryan, not a problem at all.
Obviously,
mate. Not a problem.
like, I hope you guys continue it because I still want to watch, but yeah, I just gotta get to the kids and do some stuff.
Priorities. Yeah, no problem.
But I would definitely really like to come back. Maybe do one of those interviews or going over a debate or something. I really appreciate having me on.
No problem, Ryan. Thanks so much for coming. You're always welcome, mate. It's been great talking to you. Had a blast.
Yeah, it was nice meeting you, Jonas. Sorry I didn't get to talk very long with you, but hopefully sometime in the future.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yep. I'll see you guys later.
See you, buddy. Take care.
Yep.
Yes, for the media aspect of it, you were talking about a little bit, and you're seeing a lot of things in the media. But I feel like the U.S. is so big, and the U.S. is so prevalent in world media that, I mean, it's inevitable that you're going to see a bunch of bad things that happen here.
That's true. Yeah.
So I don't feel like it does justice in that sense, because it is pretty biased for like the news that you end up getting. But and there's so many different places and so many different cultures within the U.S. is like everywhere has its own kind of feel to it. So
So if you don't mind me asking, Jonas, which state are you in?
I'm in Seattle.
Seattle. Okay.
I'm in
So
Washington.
that's Washington. Yeah. Yeah. So my news, I always look at BBC and ABC, not American ABC, but Australian Broadcasting Corporation. They're to call them government news is wrong. They're independent from the government, but funded by the government. So they basically do not have any companies to be held, to provide advertising or anything like that. But they don't have any onus to do what the government says. They're run independently. So we followed the BBC model. So I usually trust them most of all. I don't watch a lot of American news at all. So I guess you're absolutely right. It's probably only the big things that make it onto my radar.
Yeah. There's it's a really big place here. So you can drive for 3,000 miles and you're not at the end of the country yet. So that's the deal here. I'm in one little corner of it. So, I don't have the whole scope of everything either.
You okay? You seem a little tired, Jonas. You all right, mate?
Oh, I'm fine.
Okay.
Yeah, it's only 7:30, so p.m. So yeah, I'm usually kind of low energy. It's typically how I am.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Well, we've got something in common. We're both on the West Coast kind of thing. Wait, how wide is Australia? I thought Australia was about the same. Yeah, Australia's 4,000 kilometers wide.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is in miles. Yeah, so 4,600 kilometers is the US. So the US isn't that much wider than Australia. It's a big place here too. But yeah, no, I get what you're saying. And plus, I know that like different states have different personalities about them. Like I've met Midwestern people, and they're just absolutely lovely. The West Coasters are a bit more laid back and chill. The Eastern Coast people are just insane, but nice. They're awesome. I've got nothing against the people of the US. I think they're fantastic. It's just, some of the stuff that I see, but I don't know. I think I wouldn't mind seeing Colorado and all the mountains and all the beautiful natural stuff would be.
My parents are from Colorado, actually. We have a cabin there that my grandpa built. So I go there the summers sometimes or vacation with my parents, and we hang out there at the cabin. It's nice there. The weather's pretty intense though. It'll be really hot or really cold, but it gets a lot of snow there. But I like it. It's nice.
I've never seen snow, like not in real life.
It snowed here just a little bit ago. Typically, it doesn't snow here.
Really?
Where I'm at, because
it rains, right?
It rains. It doesn't. Yeah, it's very temperate. So with the water nearby and it's the sound, so we don't usually typically get very much snow. But we got some snow recently, and it was kind of fun. My dog likes snow a lot, so playing in the snow.
Okay, what kind of dog is it?
I don't know what it is. It's a
mongrel kind of thing.
Mutt thing.
A mutt, purebred mutt. Yeah. Nice. So, Jonas, what have you been up to, mate? Like, I know that you sort of came by a stream and you really enjoyed it, and you sort of told me that you wanted to come back.
Yeah, I want to get into the community. I want to start making I would like to make content on this kind of thing, this discussion topics and debates and things like that, but I just don't know what to do to get into it or how to begin talking to people or find a community that does any of that stuff. But I've been following content like debates and discussions and stuff for since 7 years now, probably. So, I mean, it's not something that I have any like super expertise in or anything, but it's something that seems kind of fun to do. So
Sure.
that's
I mean,
what I'm
I
into,
love
I
it.
guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, but I hang around with the atheist community, which is usually pretty welcoming of everybody kind of thing.
Hmm.
You know, we do have people that believe in God hanging around the atheist community, and we got no problem with them. You know, it's everything's good.
Yeah.
Um, but you know, there's multiple communities, so it depends on sort of what your interests are and the people you'd like to talk to, kind of thing. So um, the atheist and skeptic community are usually talking either religion, you know, flat earth. Sometimes any of the cryptid stuff is over on Bree's channel, who's really good at doing you know, like the cryptid aliens and Bigfoot and all of these, you know, sort of
Yeah.
cryptid creatures that are, you know, mythological kind of thing. Panthers in the US kind of stuff and things like that. It's pretty cool. But yeah, just skeptic stuff really is the part that I'm in. But it depends on whether that interests you or not. If that's something that you like talking about.
Yeah, all this stuff is something that, I mean, I'm here, right? I like it's got to
Yeah,
be interesting, and
yeah.
I'm here. And
Yeah, but I mean, we didn't talk about theology that much, I guess. I mean, I guess I'm really, you know, part of the debate community primarily. You probably, if you're looking to get started in debate, you probably want to, you know, cut your teeth on some of the smaller sort of channels like Debate Cafe, or there's a couple starting up. Amy Newman's probably going to start Debate Channel. She's got a sign up sheet somewhere. I used to have it linked. I don't anymore. There's Oz. Are you familiar with Tang, the Atheist Network group?
I'm not.
That's Oz. He's basically just trying to start up an ultimate debate championship. I'll get his link for you.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'll probably be next year.
Okay.
So I presume you're here because you've seen me debate. Is that right?
Yeah, I've seen some debates and some discussions that you've done and things like that.
Okay.
I don't remember. I got recommended off of some other channel that plugged you for something or other. I think I don't remember what.
Maybe Atheist Junior or something like that.
So, yeah, that's how I ended up here. And I don't know. I listen to books. I don't typically read books. I have some books, physical books, actual books, but I like listening to books, so I can actually, do other things and talk about them sometimes. But it doesn't get anywhere.
Do you have any
YouTube
areas?
is hard to use.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have any areas of speciality? Do you
Oh,
get into?
not really. I just do whatever.
Mhm.
I haven't gone to college for anything, or I get like a actual education on anything. I just do what research I want to do on different random stuff. So,
What have you been researching?
well, let's see. Recently, I've been looking at. Well, I started trying to figure out chemistry, and then it sort of devolved into how particle physics works, because you try to you each want to go down the rabbit hole of like, how do the interactions between molecules work, and then you get to the different kinds of bonds, and then you keep delving deeper and trying to figure out a why or how all these things work, and you just end up getting into particle physics. So
Mhm.
that's what I was kind of doing uh, on and off, looking at basically just defining stuff at this point, where you just go to the Wikipedia page and you try to find a bunch of words you don't know and define everything. And then once you have everything defined, you can kind of actually research stuff more than just the wiki.
Right.
So,
Well, have you ever looked up? There's some online courses kind of thing that you can do. I used to have it linked when I was doing stuff for biology.
he's got links for everything.
Well, I mean, yeah, I must admit I haven't really gotten into it that much, but it sort of
No.
is sort of. I think that they do sort of online courses and things like that. It might be interesting um, for you. No, I don't have it. It must be on my other system. That's okay.
That's all right. Yeah.
Put it in there. No, I didn't put it in there. No, that's okay. I'll see if I can find it and shoot it over to you. That's not a problem. I've got your email address, don't I?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay, we'll shoot it into private chat and I'll grab it.
Okay. I will do so.
So ideally, what would you like to be doing? Like, would you like to be involved in debates, or did you want to just join rooms for discussions? What would you like to
I
be?
mostly, well, since I've watched a whole bunch of discussions and things and debates in general, I don't feel like doing debates mostly. I just feel like doing discussions and talking to people about the subjects because I feel like the thing that I've gotten good at doing, if I could have anything that I'm good at doing, is being able to see where people are not clicking in the conversations, like where two people are talking past each other in a debate, or whether or not
Okay.
like somebody's getting upset at something, or why they're interpreting it the way that they're interpreting it,
Hmm.
to then try to format a different way of presenting the information to try to help somebody understand something. And that's
Right.
that's I feel like what I've been getting at or trying to do.
Okay. So sort of more mediation and education kind of thing. So trying
Yeah.
to get across concepts to people. Have you
Yeah.
have you done any content on a channel or something? Can I
The only
give you a plug?
the only things that I've done are really just talking about books that I've read, but
Mm-hmm.
not really
Book
like
review.
anything that I've really done that relates to anything about this stuff. So,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Okay.
but yeah,
Well, I mean, I got my start in debate and just sort of watching a debate. Um, I think I started off with sort of small channels, but sort of the main thing was that when modern day debate had somebody not show up, I basically just put my hand up to take their place. So I think
mhm,
there is something to be said for just going in blind and oblivious and seeing what happens. Like
yeah,
um, if you don't step up, you're not going to get there. You have to step up and say, hey, this is what I want to do. This is my opinion. you know this is this is how I'm supporting it, kind of thing. and
mhm,
and really work that sort of critical thinking to be able to present an opinion, back it up with facts and evidence, and sort of convey that to the audience in a way that is understandable, but sort of um, believable, kind of thing, or reputable. Um,
right.
so I guess without sort of a college background, and sort of you probably haven't been trained in research methodology or anything like that, that may
No.
be a bit difficult for you. Um,
Yeah.
but really, I mean, it's just a case of um, sort of finding arguments and structuring arguments. And if you're looking up stuff, start with basic logic, just critical thinking, basic critical thinking, which is just how we structure things in a way that we know they can be dependable, or we know, and that's just basic philosophy, is critical thinking. It's sort of
Mhm.
um, how we make analogies to things, how we can support our thoughts with things. And I think that isn't taught in school. It should be. Basic critical thinking should be taught in school, but it's not. So
Yeah, definitely is not.
yeah.
Not something here. Oh man, I wish it was though. Uh, I felt a lot of people in high school needed that when I went through that.
Mm. Yeah. So what did you do when you got out of high school? What are you doing now?
I basically just sat around the house for a couple months until my mom was like,
Mhm.
"Here, work with this guy." And so then I started painting houses and doing like gutter cleaning and window
Sure.
washing and things like that. And so that was interesting because it was a Christian run business. So I we got exposed to a lot of that stuff from like the working standpoint, which is typically not something that you'd see being an atheist. But
Right.
it was eye opening, I suppose. And I mean that's what I was doing for a long time. I worked at a warehouse factory thing for a while, but that I could not stand doing the same thing over and over and over again.
Mhm.
I lose my brain, burn out my brain trying to do. And I had to work with blades too because it was thermoforming. So you'd form the plastic on a mold, and then like vacuum would suck it to the shape of the mold, and then you'd pop
Mhm.
that off, and then you'd run it through the bandsaw to get excess plastic off, and then give it to a robot, which would put in like screw holes or a more defined cut around the outside of it and stuff like that. And so when I was on the bandsaws running, 500 parts, the same cut around 500 parts or something, you just kind of lose your brain for a little
Mhm.
bit, and it gets scary because every time you kind of like mentally fade off and come back, and you're like, oh man, I've just been doing this without even like thinking about it for
Yeah.
20 minutes or whatever. And sometimes you would miss your breaks because you're just totally zoned out. You didn't hear the sound go off because everybody has earplugs in. It's really loud, it's really hot. It's just not a good place to be at. So um,
Mhm.
I stopped doing that, and now I'm currently just I don't have a job. I've just been kind of doing my own thing for a while here.
Yeah. No, that's fine. I worked in a warehouse myself, just store person basically.
Mm.
Um, yeah, not logistics or logistics. I enjoyed working with the databases and stuff, but that was about all. The rest of it was pretty crap. Um, so stock database kind of management was fine, but yeah, I hated the rest of it. So I get where you're coming from, and it sounds like you're really wasted in these jobs. Like you've got to find something with a bit more.
Yeah, it should be something that I can do. I just don't know what to do with
That's okay.
myself.
Yeah, that's okay. You know, it
Society's hard.
happens.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it is. But I hope everything works out well for you, Jonas. I really do.
Yeah, thanks, man.
It sounds like you need something that gets you thinking a bit more.
Yeah.
I mean, if you are looking for and the thing that got me is when I was in these jobs, because I worked as a store person, I worked as a salesperson, just really non-intellectual jobs, and that's not to say they're unskilled. They each have their own skills that you learn, but they weren't suited for me. Um, I got into call center stuff, so IT support basically, which suited me really well because they were looking for people without degrees, so that they could hire pretty cheap, but were intelligent enough to be able to understand the concepts and do it well. So that's
Hmm.
where I went after I did all of the, sort of, I guess, low cognitive jobs that you're talking about, kind of
Yeah.
thing, the ones where you do zone out and you're just doing the same thing over and over. So don't be discouraged. Just look for things that challenge you a bit more, I guess.
Yeah. Well, thanks.
Yeah. And I might. So sorry, I'm probably going to wrap it up because it's getting on to 12, and I do need lunch. And I've been going
Yeah.
for like an hour and 50 minutes now. It's just it's been insane. But I want to thank you for coming on, Jonas. It's really good to see
Yeah.
you again.
No
Um,
problem. Thanks for talking to me. I was sitting
yeah,
here
yeah, no
bored.
worries. Sorry.
I was just sitting here bored for a while, so I just
Yeah.
thought I'd pop in.
Well, I mean, I wish I had more time. This was just sort of more. I was talking to Ryan there. Yeah, he requested that we just take some time to talk. So yeah, I was just doing that, and then somebody complained that it was just two people.
Lame.
Well, I mean, that's what it was going to be to start off with. That's why I thought
Yeah.
it was a discussion with him. So you know, I don't know. I really want to do right by my guests if I have them on. So if they don't want an open room, that's fair enough. I certainly am not going to dictate to them. If I'm running the room for me, then you know you'll just have to put up with whatever I do. Like, you know, it's my room at that point. But if I'm having a guest on, then you know I'm going to treat the guest as the one to sort of call the shots, as you will, make them as comfortable as possible. So I hope you feel comfortable. I hope you feel welcome.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I really want to try and have a nice room where people are welcome. And I mean, Sunflower was the one bitching, and he was welcome but did not show up. So Sunflower, you've missed your chance. You've missed it completely. So I'm trying to get something going, and I know I'm pretty sporadic where it comes to these things. Like I'm you know, do 2 a day and then miss 5 days and they're doing it. So I'm all over the shop at the moment. I really am. However, I'm trying to get a on Tuesday nights, I think, for Eastern time, or you know, sort of US time. I'm trying to get. I'm reading out from Reddit's "Am I the Asshole?" and commenting on who we think the morally bankrupt person is. So I'm trying to make that a weekly fixture to sort of wet my feet with the you know, producing something weekly kind of thing. I've even roped my wife into doing the thumbnails for it, which has been great because she's amazing.
Nice.
Any debates lined up? Yeah, James. Yeah, I've got one coming up on Young Earth, and that will be on Eastern time, so not your time, Eastern time, James. Saturday the 17th, I believe, at 9 o'clock. I've got that coming up. So less than a week actually now, so I better get my act together and make my presentation and stuff. Apart from that, I don't have anything coming up. I would love another debate. I may have something on modern day debate coming up, but we will just have to see. We will just have to see. All right. Well, I think I'll leave it there. Thanks so much for coming on, Jonas. I really appreciate it. It's just on 12, so I can go have some lunch. Thank you all for joining me, everybody. It's been awesome. Love you all. And do be kind to yourself and to each other. Bye-bye.
All right.